You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we're going to dive into TikTok, the on-again, off-again platform, if we can put it that way. Yeah. And actually, this is being recorded the day after the inauguration, where there was the 75-day stay. And Jana and I had planned this out, like, even before the new year. And it just
a while ago.
We're like, should we even do this or not? Like, what is it? What's the result? And
we had a great conversation that day, just talking about what's to come and whatnot. But yeah, I think we made the right decision to kind of hold and even more to talk about right now.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to jump in and give everybody a little bit of a background? Because it's super unique and really cool. Your background with TikTok shops and everything. So anyways, I'll let you give all that and then we'll jump into a candid conversation on what the future of the platform might look like.
Sounds good. So I actually worked on the brand side in the fashion space for the bulk of my career. Was doing sales, business development, and merchandising. And then when COVID hit and retail fell to its knees and halted, I pivoted into the tech industry. In the fall of 2022, I was actually one of the first 50 employees recruited to launch this thing called TikTok Shop in the US, a new social commerce, innovative way to shop, and really excited me. And I started there in November, 3 days before the first shop handle went live. So literally there from day one of activation. Was there for a little over a year on the team that essentially took agency partners and trained them to be experts to help their brands scale their clients. And so I kind of hopped over to the other side of the fence, and now I'm at Blue Wheel, and I am heading their social commerce division. And right now, mainly, of course, overseeing our TikTok shop strategy and building out that team. And I think this will kind of high speed into who's next, what platforms are coming to the table. I think 2025 is going to be a really interesting year for social commerce.
Yeah, I think so too. I think as everybody's looking for that next platform, and for the longest time, it seemed like TikTok, like brands are sitting back trying to say, hey, what do we do? The original strategy was go viral. And everybody's like, well, how do we go viral? And, one of the things that brands struggled with, and this is, when we got to, first connected, and it was through, the webinar we were doing on the strategy, I think most brands on there, and even myself, just talking to brands, were like blown away, like, wait a minute, there's finally a strategy for the platform. And there's timing around it. There's something I can take to my leadership team, my executive team, to say, hey, here's a time frame, here's an investment. Like, do we want to try this or not? As opposed to, hey, let's go try TikTok and see what happens. And I think that was originally what we're going to talk about through this whole podcast. But then, the ban was put into place, and then there's the stay. Like, I would love to hear what are your thoughts on this?
It's been quite a journey. I think we connected right before the Supreme Court hearing. I think it was maybe right before even the congressional law was upheld. Right. So we were still really, really confused and curious as to what the future would be, what the next 60 days, what the next 30 days would even be. Since then, we know, obviously, the Supreme Court upheld the ruling. And I think last week for creators, people that use the platform, people that work at TikTok, people that work on TikTok, I think there was, for the first time, a sense of uncertainty. At least I felt that. It's my personal opinion. And I think last week was definitely the most kind of unknown we've seen since the platform launched in September of 2023 officially. But that was the first time, I think, where we actually questioned, can this actually happen? Will TikTok actually go dark? I think when the TikTok lawyers said that at the Supreme Court hearing, I think that was when everyone started to kind of panic.
Yeah, do you? So the way I understood that it was going to get rolled out is it's not like everything would be instantly shut off. It's just it'd be removed from app stores. It wouldn't
Correct.
be updated. It would die this slow death.
Correct.
There just people couldn't update it. They couldn't support functionality, and then they would shift someplace else. Is that what was happening? And then during this, I don't know, how was it 12 hours? Was it 15? Like how long was it even down?
It seems like 3 days, but it was about 12 hours from Saturday night till, at least on the East Coast, late Sunday morning, where the app went dark, which was, we knew it was coming. We were warned, but still was, at least to me, super shocking when it actually happened. I'm not going to lie. And I was sad. I was really sad. I was sad as a former employee of the company. I was sad as someone that works on TikTok day in, day out, and also like on a personal level as a user.
Yeah. Do you think it's this 75-day stay? Is this, I'm hearing two sides of it. There is the actual evaluation. There's also this, like, was this some kind of like, I don't want to say publicity stunt, but this was some way to like, endear, a new administration, we'll say. Like, what are your thoughts? And then we'd love your thoughts. Like, if you think it's going to stick around, and then I want to go into the heart of what we should talk about as well, which is TikTok did a huge thing in opening up this area for commerce, right? Because there's been, reels and everything else, but from going from just a social media platform to brands doing millions a month on the platform was phenomenal. And I think it opened up a lot of other, channels to thinking, hey, we might be able to make $1 here. And brands would love the next channel to sell on. So I know I asked you like 4 questions there.
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, I think it was a challenge, especially for these enterprise brands. I know that's what we were initially talking about in the webinar, just to get approval, to get buy-in. A lot of these larger companies are not staffed or structured, or they've got people on the marketing team working across multitude of platforms, campaigns. And so social commerce was this new kind of kid on the block. I think the opportunity with a lot of brands, especially the larger brands, is they have an audience, TikTok, that I want to get in front of. I think what was the harder sell is to kind of get the budget allocated in order for brands to kind of tackle that successfully. And I think the other problem with just being a large brand and a lot of these companies being, publicly traded, and or if not, they have boards to report to, is giving a definitive ROI on what that looks like. And if I put in X in 90 days, I'll get back Y. I think just with the nature of TikTok Shop being it's still in growth, right? It's definitely still, it's only been around a little over a year, technically, right? So there are a lot of things that are happening on the platform. There are a lot of things that need to be worked through on the platform. The strategies that we've implemented have changed. We like to say, I like to say here at Blue Whale, like quarterly, we shift our strategies, and sometimes it's dramatic. So I think, in having these brands, finally, I feel like you're finally getting over the hump where brands are like ready for 2025 to lean in. And so I think for, the last 30 days to have happened, I will say us at Blue Whale, our clients are, tried and true. They're leaning in and they trust us to make the right decisions for the business. Our CEO, and we had a chat last week, and we are like full throttle social commerce. So whether it's TikTok Shop, YouTube, Meta, whatever comes next, it really, really is important. And it's what I do day in, day out, believe that social commerce is definitely the wave of the future and something that brands really need to lean into. What that looks like within the next 90 days, I don't know. I think the positive and silver lining of all of this is it will push other platforms to move more quickly. I actually was surprised because a lot of people, friends and family, just asked me, just checking in this weekend, said, how are you? Like, how's your job? How are you doing? And, the reality is TikTok Shop is they obviously are the driving force. They are the leading player in social commerce, but they're really the only player. So my hope is that what comes next is other companies expedite their social commerce offerings. And other platforms build out that capability and that functionality quickly.
Yeah, so let's go down two paths. The first one is it sticks around, and then we'll take a path it goes away, because I don't know. Like, I'm totally 50-50, right? Like that's where, so I don't want to make any predictions here because the chances are I'll be wrong. But if we go down the path of, hey, it sticks around, I totally agree with you with how brands were handling it for the longest time. And they were waiting for case studies to be done.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Because what doesn't work really well is just trust us.
Yeah.
We don't really know what we're going to do, but we know in the end it's probably going to work out. Big brands don't handle that. Conglomerations of brands don't handle that. But independent brands are really, well, I'll try anything. I don't have that much to lose. But it seems like there's enough case studies where you can say, hey, this is a path and this is what it would look like. And I'd love to hear like some of those things. If you're a brand out there, there's specific categories, and then how you think about timing, amount of content needed and stuff like that. Like, what would it take to win? And then the other one, after we wrap that up, we'll jump over to, what if it goes away? Who do you think is stepping up first?
Yeah, well, I will say a lot of the smaller brands did win first, right? They were the ones that leaned in. They were the ones that took a shot. They were partnering with creators. They were leaning into campaign periods. They were posting day in, day out. They were going live. They really were passionate about the platform. And many of those brands, as a result, to your point, like, they won. They drove revenue and they saw the halo effect to their other revenue channels and their D2C. Did take a little bit longer with enterprise brands just based on the reasons that we spoke about earlier, but we do have enterprise clients at Blue Wheel that we work with on TikTok Shop, and they are telling us that they are leaning in with us. They are not walking away. They believe in it as well. I think that the performance of the platform in Q4, I think, really excited a lot of brands. And so I think that I would like to hope, and I do believe that it will be around. I think the opportunity is just too big. And I think the platform, again, personally, there's no other platform like it. I think some of the other platforms are successes based on follower count. And I think TikTok, it was so innovative in that when it came out, it was based on engaging content. So you can build a following, you can have a strong business just by being authentic and creating engaging content. And I don't think any other platform has been able to kind of find that secret sauce. So in my heart of hearts, I believe that TikTok will be around. TikTok Shop will be around. That's my hope. What did we say when we were chatting before we got on this call? Like, it's what you perceive and how you wake up every day, and my manifest, right? So I believe that it will be here. I believe that it will get figured out. Again, it's one of those things that it is totally outside of so many people's control, right? So there's nothing you can do but let it play out, which is wild when you think about it.
Yeah, and regardless, well, number one, if I think back, I don't know why, Meta, with their Insta, Facebook, YouTube, I don't know why nobody else has come out with something at fundamental level to compete with it.
100%.
It's not like, I mean, we're in 2025. It's almost 5 years ago it started to storm onto the market, right? I mean, it really was. It hit at the perfect time with COVID and people at home and cross-generational people all spending so much time together. And so a rapid adoption, even into, above the millennials age, right? There's this crazy set of circumstances rapidly overtakes for younger generations, Google searches for help with things.
Oh my goodness.
And we're watching it happen for 5 years. And nobody else has stepped up, and they just keep going. And then the TikTok Shop side of things, where brands are making tons and tons of revenue. I don't understand how somebody else hasn't stepped up to either rebuild or refit or launch something else that could compete with it. Because I agree with you. There's nothing really competing with it from a sales standpoint. You could say, oh, well, there's still a chunk of people on Insta, there's still a chunk of people on Facebook, but the number and the age and the amount of people who are posting, searching, selling, buying, it's
It's like
just
no
ridiculous.
other. I know.
Um,
I think YouTube is next. I definitely think that they over Meta are what we'll see next. And I would say that I believe they should have been doing this a year ago. Like, I
yeah,
believe that everyone's a year behind. Like, I don't think that we should be in this situation where social commerce is totally dependent on one platform. And I'm kind of shocked. Like, America, we're supposed to be innovative and, like a power globally. And yet, this is the situation that we're in a space that's super innovative and not going away.
I don't get it. I literally don't get it at all. But it's the you think back to like with Amazon, basically putting Toys R Us in a way out of business, or Sears, right? Like, oh, nobody's going to be on the internet. It's almost like that type of thing. Even I don't know why Walmart is so far behind Amazon in e-commerce, but if we go to the YouTube piece and you think about Google though, Google's had Google Shopping forever,
They
and they've
haven't been able to
never really
figure
done anything with
it
it.
out. It drives me crazy. And now the one thing that I did always do on Google was search. And now TikTok is my primary search engine.
Yes, right?
And I'm not Gen Z.
I mean, I use ChatGPT right now. I just
I
want
do
an
like
answer. I don't
I do
want
like that.
5,000 results that I have to sift through. And I have to double check a lot of things. You scratch your head like, I'm not sure that's right. But I mean, yeah, I'm using ChatGPT. But Google had it all. They
Very
have
true.
so much access. People searches, emails. They have everything. They couldn't figure out Google Shopping. They have YouTube. They couldn't put those two things together. And then TikTok comes along and it's a short form video of a combination of Google Shopping and YouTube.
I would like to think that the uncertainty that this brings will, I hope that if we do this podcast same day next year, that we'll have a totally different story to tell. And we can talk about all the amazing things that happened in social commerce in 2025. That's my hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. It's going to be a fun year. Uh, that's what I think. The flip side of what I see going on is I think AI machine learning is here at a lower cost, because one of the biggest issues that I hear from brands is, even if you're thinking about from a TikTok standpoint, but social commerce as a whole, is the amount of content you have to generate on a daily basis. And then not only get the content, review the content. So you're creating it, you're reviewing it, you're approving it. And there's some new tech out there that's helping streamline all of that, so you can actually do it at scale, at cost. Um, and so I think that's another thing that brands are very leery of, is the cost of content generation and brand
100%.
approval. Um,
And even just there are a lot of great tools and software companies that do help brands and agencies scale businesses on TikTok Shop. But there isn't necessarily a one size fits all tool that's been developed, because the platform is growing so quickly and things are changing. So I'm really excited, but I will say, currently there's not a tool that does all of the things that we need it to do, right? There is still some manual components that the team has to do. But on the flip side, the amount of innovation that these companies have come to the table with, and they are the first to be calling us and saying, talk to us about what you want, what is slowing you down, what is manual, and like let us. So that's been kind of cool too, to almost help the creativity and development of these companies, because they essentially want your input directly on what do you need from us to make your job better. And I think that's a really cool thing.
so this is the tech that's empowering you to do what you do, where they're
Yeah,
saying, hey,
all of
we're
like the
not a
different.
brand. We don't want to
Mhm.
deal directly necessarily with the brands. We probably can, but we'd rather deal with an agency that can interact and then tell us to build, and they don't have to throw people at it anymore, right? I mean, that was, I think, before a lot of the tech that, so a brand would be paying you as an agency, and you as an agency would be paying a tech company that's powered by a lot of people. So it's incredibly expensive, and all that gets rolled up. And now yeah, I agree. Like, we're at this point where that tech side can be AI and machine learning. So it's less expensive for you, which means it's less expensive for a brand. And now we can start to really get into changing the profitability side of direct consumer
100%. And
commerce
just
and social.
problem solving. And I think that is a lot of well, especially for creator and affiliate, creator partnerships and outreach at scale, there are still very manual components to it. And I think content supply, you hit the nail on the head. That's something that we hear all the time. And we talk about some of those large brands when you get on the phone and you say, how often are you posting? Once a month,
Yeah.
once a week. Like, okay, you're going to have to amp that up by 100 if, you want to get in the game and have the algorithm know who you are and really convert. And so I think any sort of innovation or tool that's going to help a brand, an agency, a creator, whoever it is, do their job more efficiently is really exciting to see. And I think we've only kind of just scratched the surface of what's out there. I think there's going to be we're talking about 2025. I think there's going to be a lot of really cool innovation within the space.
Yeah, I think also just the experience, like what you guys bring into this is, larger brands do need to hear, okay, I'm going to make an investment. Is it 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months? Okay, what is the commitment on the content side? How often do we have to post? And you can actually build a business model around it and then do somewhat of a projection on outcomes, which we've never been able to do before. And so it's this huge apprehension, and brands would get excited and they would jump in, and a month in, they'd be posting every day. And then they'd be posting, 3 out of 4 days, and then 3 out of 5 days, and then 3 out of 7 days. And it would slowly wean off. And like, well, we didn't see the result. Yeah, because the results took 3 months every single, or something like that.
People walk away relatively quickly. I have found that. And that's why, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the webinar, but at Blue Wheel, we really want long-term partners, and we want long-term partnerships and contracts, not because we want to lock you in for a year. There's, of course, like clauses and things, it is a true partnership. But we don't want the expectation to be set that you are going to see your ROI in 90 days. You are going to hit X amount of GMV in 30 days. So we kind of train and teach our clients, these are the metrics that you should be looking out for. This is our long-term strategy. This is how we want to get you from point A to point B. And then the other part, especially with TikTok Shop and social commerce just being such a new space, is leave it to us, right? Like, we're going to be the ones that figure out what's next, because strategy shifts happen weekly, daily. Updates from the platform happen consistently. And so it's our job as the agency to be the social commerce expert and own that for the brand. A lot of these brands don't have the time, the bandwidth, the effort to really, really stay up to date and be on the forefront of what's next.
Right. Oh, I totally agree. Let alone getting any of that content approved, right? Through either your regulatory affairs,
it's
your
actually
legal team,
one of
brand
our,
team.
Yep. It's one of our qualifying. What we do is we have a list of qualifying questions that we ask a brand because we want
before we start dating.
Yeah, because we just want to make sure that it's right for both, right?
Yeah.
We don't want you to sign up for something that we know you're not going to be able to scale in. And if you have a really stringent legal team or many layers of approvals for a single piece of content, then a platform that is content based is probably not going to work for you. That's just kind of our stance. I think a lot of people take a brand, whether it's like a goalie or another one, like Mary Ruth, or some of these other brands that have really been able to scale and soar. And they're like, I want that. Guru Ananda. I want to be that. And I consistently will have the conversation of like, yeah, let's do it. I want that for you too. But let's talk about the time. They've been on the platform. It's a lot of these brands have been on for quite some time. Let's talk about the efforts that they put in to the platform as far as really pulling every single lever, doing campaigns, doing flash sales, going live consistently, posting content a few times a day, partnering with the right creators, partnering with a ton of creators via mass outreach. They're doing all of these things, and they did them over time, right? And so that's definitely something that we want to talk to our brand partners about, because we don't want to give them the understanding of like, yeah, 90 days, like you're going to be that person. You're going to be a top 10 brand on the platform. It takes time. It takes effort in order to become that.
Yeah, it's I know you want that, but
Yeah,
are you
I want
willing to
that
do what
too.
what they did to get that? Like,
Yeah.
let's connect the dots here, right? As opposed to, can I just magically get that? No, no,
Yeah.
you can't, right? Which
Yeah.
it's funny because that's earlier on in the platform where something would totally go viral, right? And then you'd randomly see a brand's direct to consumer site totally sell out, Amazon totally sell out, and everybody would want that. But the interesting thing is, I understand why they would want that, especially a smaller brand, right? There's a huge cash influx in the door. Um, but there wasn't a lot of that sustained business afterwards. And I think what brands actually want is a methodology around the platform, a plan for I like to think of it as reasonable success, right? Like, let's be reasonable about what success looks like. It's not $20 million a month, starting month 4, right? This is what success can look like based on what you are willing to do. And if we can agree on those two things and expectations, then, if I'm in your seat, I'm like, let's do business.
Yeah.
And if they're not aligned, then it's kind of like, well,
100%. And the reality is, even a big company, I went into the Nespresso store and I was looking for this cup to hold my iced coffee. And apparently I'd gone viral on TikTok. And even a big company like that, he was like sold out online, sold out on, all of the stores in the surrounding area. So that's also not beneficial if at the end of the day you have to pull your stock down and you are sold out across, with no way to get back into stock quickly, right? And I think a lot of the things that we talk to our brands about as far as going viral is that's amazing when a post takes off or when a product takes off. But then you have to be ready for what's next. You have to continue to build on that momentum. And I think that is definitely something that we talk to our clients about day in, day out. And that's why we love to say we like to play the long game. Because I think if you play the short game, it's not profitable, right? If you have to heavy discount, if you have to, pay creators a ton of money, it's not going to be successful long term. I think just taking a budget and really carving out steps, carving out a plan, carving out a path, and really taking it seriously as both an awareness and a revenue channel. I think a lot of the enterprise brands too, maybe not today, but at least a year ago today would say, I just view TikTok as an awareness play. Yeah. And I think that's changed slightly. I think we've got a lot more minds to change, especially in the enterprise space. But it can be, and we've seen it be both an awareness and a revenue play for brands.
Yeah, I think the other thing when you're talking about like profitability and how much it's going to cost, the unit economics, I'm always I don't know, shocked, surprised at how many brands don't know the unit by unit economics of what's going on. If it is an awareness play, well, how much are you willing to spend and or lose? And you get to the point where you walk through unit economics and they realize they're taping a $5 bill on the top of every box that goes out the door. And so, yeah, you did $1 million on TikTok, but you're in the hole now, 50,000, right? Like,
yes.
yeah, and usually those are the smaller brands, which in my mind, a lot of times is where the bigger brands, they don't have the tolerance to go negative for a long period of time. I actually see this right now taking place on Amazon. A lot of overseas brands coming in really aggressively on a few ASINs, huge spend where they're losing money month over month. But they know by the end of the year, and they're in top 3 organic search, within the next year, they'll make it all back. So they'll go negative, double digits, triple digits sometimes, percentage wise, because they know they'll make it back. And it's almost like this weird investment that within 3 years, they'll earn it all back plus, 2x. But I think a lot of times bigger brands don't have the tolerance to lose money for 6 months.
Yeah. And also there's Pricing. There's map pricing. There are things, you brought up kind of smaller overseas brands that exists. A platform is a platform. It is a marketplace, but we talk to our brands about it's leaning into promotions just like you would with any retailer.
Mhm.
This platform is not supposed to be a discount outlet, nor does it have to be. What you should do is take advantage, especially because in talking about TikTok in general, they are generous with subsidies during tentpole periods where they're co-funding coupons for brands. They are offering additional discounts directly to the user. And so I do think it's really important to take advantage of those times, but we don't encourage brands to highly discount their products just for the platform.
Yeah, that discounts, that's almost like a whole nother like podcast because I've got a lot of brands right now when we talk about profitability trying to dial back discounts. So I totally agree with you. Don't push those onto TikTok and use it like a traditional like TJX outlet or something like that, right? I have a lot of brands trying to dial back the discounts right now, and it's 50-50 on how that's working out. And usually it's a waiting game at the end of the day. But I think it's a great tidbit. Don't use it as an outlet, right? Don't depreciate the brand value.
And you can if you want to be creative, right? Say you do have a product that you're discontinuing, like why not bundle it? Why not do some cool content around it? I think there are ways to even liquidate products to make it not seem like a total flash sale or like fire sale. I think there's a way to go about it. We had a brand in a very competitive space on TikTok Shop, and we actually had a creator reach out to us and said, I don't want to promote this brand because this competitor brand is actually, and it was like 87% off, something wild like that. And so I said, let me just take a few minutes and do some research. I went on that brand's website, one price. I went on their Amazon store, a different price. I went on their TikTok shop, a higher price. And then it was like slashed all the way down, plus additional campaign sales. And I said to the team, that's never a strategy that we're going to take with our brand partners. So if the creator has every right to not want to promote that and choose to promote this other product, that's what a marketplace is. But that's never going to be a strategy that we take or we encourage our brand partners to take to kind of like price match and, really, really heavily, highly discount their products in order to get creators to promote them. It's just not a strategy that we use. Definitely will.
Um, there's are there like key pieces of advice you give brands as they're jumping on? I can say jumping on TikTok shops, but also just social commerce as a whole
Yeah,
that
I
come
think
top of mind.
Yeah, I think kind of like what we've touched on a little bit, is it's really important to be able to promote, not discount, but being able to lean into those camping periods because that's when the eyes are going to be on those that participate in those like high value moments. Embrace creators, especially on a platform like TikTok where creators are the lifeblood. If you are a brand that is a little bit particular of like who does your content, who has your product, how do they speak about it? There are parameters that the platform puts in place, and it would behoove a creator to do something dumb or something that's going to really hurt their own capabilities of being a successful creator on the platform. But if you are a brand and you are I want to say scared, that's not the right word. But if you are very particular about who has your product and how they talk about it, and you don't lean in or try the affiliate model, I would say that TikTok is not for you. Because if you're not going to truly lean into the social, then social commerce isn't the right space. So I would say that that is another one. Being able to, and that also ties into content, right? Because if you are great, you don't want to work with creators, and you best be ready to go and do content on your brand handle 10 times a day if you're not going to lean into the other side of the business. So I would say that that's another one. And be creative, right? I think, understand, and that's why brands partner with us as well. Understand what's trending on the platform. I love to use the phrase like come to the table with like exclusive products and bundles And I always say that doesn't mean manufacture something specifically for TikTok only in order to like a high MOQ. It's look at what your existing assortment is. And we actually do this with when we do mass outreach, we'll test a variety of products from a brand and just see what influencers are gravitating towards. And sometimes it is different than what their top sellers are on their D2C and Amazon. It can be kind of like a niche area of the business that someone really on TikTok took advantage of. And that I think is important too, to kind of like lean into what the market says, what the users, like what is your community saying? What are your creator partners saying? And then be able to react off of that.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome, my friend. This has been so much fun. I'm glad we got to record it. I'm glad we got a 75-day stay before maybe TikTok goes dark again. We'll see. But really enjoy like the friendship, the partnership with Blue Wheel. You guys are all around great. And I just want to say thanks again for your time today as we wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks everybody for listening in. Thanks, my friend.
Thanks for having me.